So Klipheuwel, since I last spoke to you, winter came to Klipheuwel. And you will recall, next slide, that so did the river. The river rose, and a number of shacks, next slide, were affected by the waters coming up. I think that photo was taken even after it started subsiding a bit. So a number of shacks were affected there. And we appeal to you guys to help with food and blankets at the last minute. And thank you so much for the help we got. The next slide, you'll see that's the queue waiting to go into the creche where we handed out blankets, next slide, and food that you guys provided, packs of food to lots of people, lots of families who were affected. And it was really great. And so I want to thank you for that, just that you can see some of what we did. The next week or two, you can show the next slide, we were able to still support of the affected families in the area. Next slide. Just giving out groceries and sometimes clothing. It's been a good testimony. Whenever we do that, we make sure we take the message of the gospel with us as much as we can, because we're not just doing it from a social point of view, although there is that side to it, the humanitarian side, but it's also because it's God's love in us that's made us reach out to them and to help them, and God's love for them. You will see this is part of the kitchen. There at about 2:30, the kids start putting their bowls down on the ground by the gate in line to book their space. Next slide, and then they get let through, and they go through to the kitchen, and then eventually they get to the front of the queue, next slide, and receive the food that they get. And so, once again, thank you to those who give faithfully to the ministry there, because it's that sort of support that enables us to feed sometimes up to 200 children a day. The children in the creche all get fed, and then at 3 o'clock there's this community kitchen. We don't call it the soup kitchen because we do soup once a week. We do chicken and rice, we do sump and beans, we do fish and mash. So we have a varied diet. Once again, really from the point of view of trying to make a bigger impact on the health of the kids. Next slide. That was just where Olga worked. They gave us 200 jars of jam. And so we went out in the community and just made sandwiches. And we'll do that again with that amount of donation. We appealed for clothes, next slide, and you guys gave lots of clothes. You can show the next two slides quite quickly. That's just to show the clothes. Next slide, as we put them out on the ground. And then next slide, you'll see the people waiting at the gate to filter through. And some of the people where there's need, we let take for free clothes, or we give out selected clothes to them. And then when there's lots of clothes available, we'll put them out on the field like that, and the community can go in and then for a token amount buy some clothes, R5, and they get 2 or 3 items. So that's how we're doing it at the moment. Next slide. During the June-July holidays, we had a week where we ran, well, not we, but my team on the ground there, ran a soccer and netball sort of clinic tournament where they made teams and they played. And even though it was raining, you can see that didn't stop them. Even when it was actively raining, they were playing. And so it was a great time to be able to just do something constructive for them. I spoke to you last time as well about Doug building the additions for the sewing room, and those were completed. And there you'll see the ladies, some of them who are busy with training, working in the room. It's phenomenal what God is doing there. The ones who've been trained and the ones training now, and the opportunities God's given under the leadership of Ian and Nicole. So keep praying for that. You can show the next slide. We still do a kids' church on a Sunday evening where the grade 1 to 7s come early on, and when I arrive, rain or sun, they're lined up by the door. You can show the next slide, and that's the group that come, sometimes 60, sometimes, I think last week was 100 kids came, and it's chaos, but that's what we're called to do, is to reach them. And they want to come, and they're receptive. So we just have a Bible teaching, and we play games, and we have fun, and there's something to eat afterwards, and they're coming along. So if anyone wants to be part of that, you're welcome to be. Straight after that, we have like a discipleship group. Our discipleship group, that's not it, by the way. Our discipleship group is much smaller now. Remember, we used to do church, and I shared last time that during COVID, we cut that down to a smaller number just because we had to. And also, I sort of told people if they were going to make a mockery of Jesus Christ during the week, then they mustn't come to the group. And so they didn't. So we have a small group. We have a small group who meet on a Sunday evening. And I had this sort of burden to say, well, now how do I reach the rest of the youth who are not coming to that with the gospel? Because you don't want to lose that. So I wanted to start a youth group on a Friday. And there were two young guys, Yaku and Judah. They're in their early 20s. And Judah came quite a bit actually to the discipleship group to sit in with him. And then Yaku and Judah came one night, and we were talking about the church in Ephesus, the Ephesians. And I mentioned in that we all have a calling in our life to go and make disciples. Yeah, that's our job. Our job is to glorify God, but to go and make disciples and teach them to obey Jesus Christ. I said, if you're not doing that, then you're not fulfilling actually why God saved you. God saved you for that function. And we were talking through that, and I mentioned Acts 20:24, where Paul says he called the leaders in the Ephesian church to himself, and he said to them, I count my life as nothing to me, except that I've finished the race and complete the task that God has given me, the task of testifying to the good news of Jesus Christ. That's the task we have. And so afterwards they came to me, Judah and Yaku, and they said, you know what? We just feel we're in a Bible study. They don't go to the same church. There's a young group, and they meet from different churches at a Bible study. He said, we've been talking. We want to do something, not just learn the Bible together. We want to be involved in an outreach. So I said, well, what about doing a youth group on a Friday? And that's that. So they said, we'll do it. And so now every Friday they get together, and anywhere from 30 to 60 young people between 16 and 21, more or less, pitch up and have coffee and have fun and hear a message or watch a movie or whatever. But that to us now, just so you know, is our sort of evangelistic outreach to the youth. And then I've asked them if there's anyone there who expresses faith, to then plug them into Sunday night, to ask them then to come to the discipleship group, and we'll try and help them along with that. Thank you. To you guys who've supported us in giving and in helping and in prayer, and if you can please continue to do so. There's a lot of work that needs to be done, and there's a lot of people that need to get involved to help, just to help in different ways and also to reach with the gospel. So if you're able to pray for us and contribute, I'm very grateful for what's been done and would like it to continue.